Hey everyone, I just wanted to make a quick video for you to show you how to set up your magazine in case you're not clear on exactly what to do or how it might work. This is just going to be a quick overview of the basic initial setup and then where you might find some things that you want to use. I'm going to jump right onto my screen here, so I'll be up in the corner to watch you and walk you through this. I'll go right up here. But the first thing you're going to want to do is open up Photoshop, which I've already done. And then you want to create new here. And that's going to allow you to create a new file. And this should open up right about here. You're going to want to change this. I'm going to call mine magazine. And I'm going to change it to inches. And you want 8.5 inches by 11. That's a standard just sheet of paper. Orientation is going to be vertical. So 8.5 by 11 vertical inches. My resolution, I'm going to keep just at 72 because with text and whatnot, you don't want it too high. It can be really, really complicated to actually produce at the end. My background color, I'm actually going to switch this to black just because I'm going to show you quickly using Time magazine. And so I'm just going to use black for this tutorial. All right, so this is 11 and a half, or excuse me, 11 tall and 8.5 wide. So I have my background here. And then basically it's just going to be putting on your pictures, which you're all really familiar with. But a couple of things that could get tricky is the font, and thinking through your font. So let's look at an example. If I'm, for instance, mimicking Time magazine, what I want to look at here are just a few examples. I'm seeing full body shots, some headshots, and I might choose, let's say, a headshot kind of picture. I need to find a font that's somewhat similar to this, okay? Because remember, you're doing a club, so you're going to rename it. So I'm going to imagine that my club's robotics or something like that. I want to find a font that's similar to this. It's got to be red, and it's got to have this kind of I don't know, Roman, kind of angles, very tight but thicker verticals, thinner horizontals. And then I've got to have this red border. Then my actual font is really boxy. It looks maybe like a Helvetica, but very boxy font overall. So let's jump back to our Photoshop page here. That was an accidental aggressive zoom in. All right, so the first thing I can do really easily is that red border is really easy to do. I'm just going to create a selection there. I'm going to select the inverse. I'm going to go Edit, Fill. I'm going to choose to fill this with red. So I'm going to choose a color. That color is going to be red. I'm going to make it nice bright red. And I want to keep this consistent, so I'm going to say this red, okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now I have my border. I'm pretty happy with it. I might make it a little bit thicker down at the bottom, so I could fix that later. But then I gotta put in font. So I'm gonna do robotics again. So I want to say robot. That's gonna be the name, a very creative name of my magazine. So I'm gonna say robot, and it's in black, so I need to change this to red as well. There we go, nice bright red. Okay, so I have robot. I need all caps because that's what Time magazine is. Then I'm going to just increase its size, and if you get to the point where 72 is not big enough, you can just hold the up key here, and I have robot. That looks pretty good. The font doesn't look right at all, though. It's too boxy. The spacing's fine. But it's too boxy. It doesn't have that kind of Roman look to it that I'm looking for. So what I can do to easily and quickly go through my fonts here is highlight robot and then go up to my fonts, and I can kind of just click through and see which one's going to look better. That one's actually pretty close, but it's a little bit too cartoonish. Whoa, that's not right at all. That one's pretty good. It's not right, but for the sake of this, I'm going to go with this one. Let's keep looking. Never mind. Ooh, there we go. Here we go. Okay, this looks pretty good. This is a little bit too Game of Thrones looking, but it's still pretty good. I actually like this one a lot. It's a lot more thick on the verticals and thinner on the horizontals. Okay, so now it says robot, and that doesn't look half bad. But what I want to do is squeeze it a little bit. So this is one of the hints and tips I put on Canvas for you under modules. But if I highlight the whole thing, hold down Alt, and then click my arrow to the left, see how it's going to squeeze it? I want to squeeze that a little bit. Now notice though, I have a weird squeeze here between the B and the O, but not here. So I could just highlight those two and squeeze just those two. I have a little bit of a space here. There we go. So I can just have that cursor sit there and I can move individual ones as well, holding down Alt and then using my right key or my left key. All right, I like how that looks. I think it works. It kind of matches it fairly well, that whole time look. And then again, going back to my Time magazine, that's where it says Time. I need this blockier font here too. So I might go over to my Photoshop. I'm going to use my text key again. Remember, it makes a nice little new layer here for every time you do some new text. And I need to make this a lot smaller. So I'm going to go down to 60. And I'm going to just say some kind of fake news title. So bots versus comps, meaning computers. And then I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. That's too big. Bots versus comps. And then again with Alt, I can go up or down. This is by pushing the down arrow, and I have to kind of go much farther here. You might be able to hear me tapping. Bots versus comps. Okay, cool. So that's a lot better squeeze versus what it originally was, but that font's not right. So I got to find a fatter font here. So again, I could just highlight this and click through, highlight this and drag down, or I can even go on here and just try to find one. Bots versus comps. There's like a Gothic there. It's a little bit too cartoony. Let's see if there's a Helvetica, because that's what it looked like. There isn't. So I'm going to go with, this looks pretty good actually, this Franklin Gothic Demi. I kind of like that. That looks kind of good. So I'm going to go capital though. Bots, because it's all capital, versus comps. And I can go computers, but that's too long. So yeah, bots versus comps. I'm not sure why the robots would be fighting the computers, but who knows. So then I have that, and I might want to look back. Right now it's centered. That headline's centered. If I look back here, I want to ask myself, are these centered? No, they're not. They're always left justified. So I'd go back to this, click on my text editing tool, highlight that, and I want to go left justified. Okay, bots versus comps. And then you'll notice also, or I noticed at least, in theirs, they had one that was like highlighting a word that was supposed to stand out. So the man behind the world's most dangerous economy, and dangerous is in red. So I'm going to make versus here red and comps and bots white. Okay, so all I have to do is highlight the word, and then obviously I can just go to white there, and then white here as well. I could also just reset these. There we go. Bots versus comps. All right, so now that's starting to look a lot more like that Time magazine cover. So anyway, that's really the process. Time's a pretty easy one to do. It's pretty straightforward. Some of the magazines that you might be looking for can be a little bit trickier to find what font it is. But I give you this suggestion. If you're using a magazine, let's say we do have Marie Claire. I saw someone was choosing Marie Claire. If I want to figure out what fonts are on the cover here, what I can do is literally just Google Marie Claire cover font. And let's see what comes up. Interesting. So they actually have some here. It's obviously not the font. Like you can't download it necessarily, but I'm curious what this image tells us. That just goes over what kind of fonts there are. So I'm going to go away from images and just go to all and see if someone says something about it. Here we go. Marie Claire's title closely aligns itself with the font style Heroine Pro. So that could be kind of interesting if that's in here. Just to look, let's see, Marie Claire, is there a Heroine Pro? Heroine Pro, no. So that's not going to work for us. I could click this and see if that's an Adobe font or whatever kind of font it might be. But anyway, this is one way to maybe find your font. Otherwise, I think the kind of more interesting and adventurous one is just, highlighting your font and kind of clicking through this tree. There's a ton of fonts that Adobe gives you. So you should be able to find one that's somewhat similar to it. And you can kind of go from there. Otherwise, you'll want to get all of your titles on there. If you want to do images or shapes, down here on the bottom, there's also these different shapes. So you have like ranked rectangles, you have a polygonal tool, you have a line tool. So for instance, if you want to do a plus, you could do kind of a plus here, and you could go like this. And there you go, now you have this shape. And you can make that, of course, bigger or smaller. You can make it thicker if you have a bigger stroke on that. That stroke is black, so that's why that just broke. You can make the actual weight bigger too. If you want to, you could say, I want 4 pixel weight. And then see how it's a lot fatter if you do that line with 4 pixel weight. So anyway, so if you're wanting to do shapes, like if you want to do a corner banner or something, that's a good one to do. A corner banner, what I would do is go, I would make my probably polygonal tool, because what you can do is you can go like this. If I wanted to do, let's say like they're saying like, subscribe now for free or whatever. Oops. Delete. That did not work because the polygonal tool wanted me to do, there's an arrow. It wanted to do just a polygon. Custom shape tool is kind of cool because you can choose the shape that you want up here. So this shape was an arrow. You can also do any of these other kind of shapes with check marks. So that could be good if you're like just trying to do a whole bunch of different marks down, or if you want to put a registered trademark. You can do a rectangle tool, of course, if you want to do that side banner. We can fill it with maybe yellow. Fill it with yellow to make it stand out. Fill it with yellow. That's fine. Okay, and then we can rotate it. So we can go Control T, just like we always do. And we could rotate it over the corner here. It's too harsh. There we go. And then on that, we can say yes, we're done with that. And then on that, we could put some text over the top that says something along the lines of, whoa. That could say something along the lines of, like, subscribe today, or special feature, or something like that you see on some magazines. So anyway, I'm going to stop this video there. If you have questions, feel free to email me. I can make some tutorials while I'm gone over for the week. Otherwise, good luck in class. Do some fun, creative stuff, and we'll see you when I get back.